Well, we expected Indiana Wesleyan to be a tough, aggressive team, extremely well coached. There's no doubt about that. You can see that on film. It's one of the reasons we wanted to schedule them. I believe in what they do. I like their coaches. Familiar with some of their players from the summertime and through the winters of playing here, and I'm really glad that we scheduled them. I think they'll have an outstanding year. They were already 1-0 coming into the game, and it scored 91 points, so we knew that there was a lot of offense to them, and I thought once our guys really settled into the game and really started to defend the right way, we got down, which was they made some shots, and at the same time we were just a little bit off. We really didn't start figuring out till into the second half that we really needed to get into that. Not in a fouling way, but we were bringing fatigue to the game, but we got to bring more pressure to the game. And I don't mean just in a full court pressure way, but just really getting up. And it was really apparent in our pick and roll defense, that we've got to do a much better job of being active with our hands, being up into the ball. We were late in some traps. But I thought our guys played hard. There's no question about it. We played 12 guys in the first half. We played 11 guys, 11 minutes or more. And couldn't have drawn it up any better than that, to have it be that way. And I didn't go in with that plan. It's just the way that it worked out. But I thought we did a lot of really good things in the sense of moving the ball. We capitalized. We played the game extremely hard and serious the entire time. When we started to make a defensive changes as far as how we were playing certain things, they were very locked in. Guys came into the game and were locked in there. And I thought we got a lot of good basketball. I was really excited for Maurice. And it was emotional watching the crowd react to him. I mean, it's not surprising because it's Indiana. But nonetheless, you never take it for granted. And I don't think any of us take for granted that have lived with him the fact how special it is that he's back out there. And I'm telling you, it's been a long road. And he's earned it, and he has done it. And there was nobody in there outside of Tim and Janae and our doctors rehabbing with him and helping him do the weights and helping him strengthen his legs and go through those surgeries, and he has earned it, and I think he'll be better for it, and I think you've seen, again, that he can really help this team. So, in a nutshell, that's our game, and we're excited about what we learned from it, what we can learn moving forward, and knowing that it's going to start to come a lot faster for us now, and that's great.
Coach, you've talked before about not just having depth, but having quality depth. You get 46 points off the bench tonight. Can you talk about that?
Well, I think that's big. You're not deep if you're not consistent. You know, then it all is bodies. And our guys are trying to get consistent. We're trying to go from having a mindset, which they've really established. I mean, they come in, they have a great work ethic, they have really good energy. There's a mutual respect amongst one another, and the work is good, really good. And so the mindset of playing, competing, all that's really strong. Well, now they got to get an identity. And you don't just walk into the season with an identity, and it's not necessarily the one you had the year before. And I said this in the pregame show to Don Fisher. If there's a team out there that's already established their identity, well, that's great. We'd love to play them in February, because unless they're special, they're probably going to be a little different. You got to work into it. You've got to work into it. And these guys are no different. So there's a lot of quality players on this team. And when they're moving the ball and when they're playing that way and defense is dictating it, and I don't even know what our points in the paint were. I do know what our points in the paint, 48. And the 23 points off turnovers, those are all really positive things. Those don't happen if you can't go into your bench and create some fatigue for the game, for the opponent.
Those mix-ups defensively early on, was that something you kind of expected might happen, or is that something that hadn't shown up in practice?
No, it's not about that. I mean, to me, it's just not being up into your guy. I mean, they weren't like they were out of position. We had a couple of times we didn't challenge shots. We weren't bringing enough pressure to the game, especially in the half court. You know, we weren't up really being active, and we'll get better at that. I mean, we don't practice that way. I was very, very on top of us not having reaching fouls and doing a lot with our hands, being active with our hands, creating deflections, but not a lot of the reaches that come when you're really anticipating and you've got some anxiety to get in the game. And we were just off a step a little bit, and then we fixed that.
Dustin, you mentioned Maurice. I mean, what was just, I guess, the most encouraging thing you saw him do tonight?
You know what? I think that the shooting was good. He stayed in his shot, but I think the way that he came off the dribble, especially the one time we had Christian locked in the post. And I mean, and no matter what we're doing, if Christian or Cody have a guy on their back, it's got to go there. I mean, and we're preaching that, day in and day out. I mean, no debate. It goes in. Well, that was really good. Christian didn't get it on the first side. We missed the high-low with him, which we haven't spent enough time on yet, but we will. He came across the lane. It got swung. We had him, and Mo just made a hard drive to the lane, shot the little running floater pull-up. That was a big-time play. That was a big-time play. Those are the kind of things that we've got to get from him. So when he shows that burst, that shows that the legs are getting a little stronger, and he's still a ways away in that sense, and it's still hard for him to put, day after day after day together. And I'm starting to get more conscious of that now that we've kind of gotten through the training camp mode of these workouts, because it's going to be a long year, and we want him to be able to strong for the whole thing. But I would say that right there, that he was very active defensively.
Rich. Tom, when you see this place packed for an exhibition, how much do you sense the anticipation of the fans for this season?
Oh, I think they're really excited. When you've got your biggest non-conference game since Kentucky, that says a lot. When they're lined up at 6 or 7 this morning, that's big time. The guy out there studying for a neuroscience? What was it? Neuroscience exam? I'm like, wow. That's I can't even spell it. But to me, that's really strong. So I think they're excited. And my thing is, this is great. Let's go day by day. That's what our team is doing. And that's what we need our fans to do. I mean, it's a long year. And it's one thing to anticipate the future, but the future wouldn't be what it could be if we weren't getting the most out of every day. And we wouldn't be where we're sitting right now if we hadn't gotten the most out of every day. So it's really important that our fans stay in the process with us on that, and that we never get ahead of ourselves. But they're excited, and they bring a lot of energy to it, and it's going to be a crazy, crazy atmosphere in here next Friday night. I know that.
Michael?
Hey, Tom, I know you've decided to go with a scrimmage instead of playing another exhibition game, like this. Just what was the rationale for that, and why did you decide?
Some of it, I like it. First of all, we did it some at Marquette. But the biggest thing is there's a certain number of home games that we want to hit. And if we start going over that, okay, then it becomes, the ticket prices are going up and all those type of things as far as for the season ticket prices. So we're always going to try to be somewhere in that 19, 20, usually 20 is a good benchmark. And when we're playing these exempt tournaments like we did last year, we're playing 4 games at home. And this year we're playing the 2 games at home. And then we have one more home game rather than a road game. We kind of get our number for what we need to do at home, and that allows us to do that. We could very easily go back to an exhibition next year. And it's really just, because we haven't made a decision on what we're doing next year with the exempt tournament. So in a nutshell, that's what it really comes down to, what you're doing with your exempt tournament. If we went to a situation where we go, like when you go to Maui, and it's not for a few years, but when you go to Maui and they're all on the road, well, then we would have an exhibition at home for them, I would think. So we would have a good base number for our fans.
And you're going to play Wisconsin, Green Bay?
I really, as you all know, and as I well know, everything gets watched here in such a close way and monitored, and we're really not supposed to discuss or publicly talk about those things. So I'm not being evasive, I'm just trying to follow the rule. And I know it's not always that way everywhere else when they start talking about scrimmages, but we just can't. So, not my rule.
You've talked a lot about rebounding as a focus with this team. Even with Indiana Wesleyan being a little bit undersized, what do you see from your team today, the way they hit the glass?
Oh, I think we're good. I think we didn't get enough and ones at times. I think we missed some layups, but we were very active. There's no question. I'd be shocked if we didn't grade out well on the offensive rebounding end and the blockout. And we'll have to see. But it's that's where it's becoming a mindset for us, and it's got to turn into a strong part of the identity of the team. It's got to be on both ends. We're just too athletic not to be a really good rebounding team. And we've got some things that we want to hit there. And I love throwing benchmark numbers out at them, like North Carolina averaged 45 rebounds a game last year. And sometimes it's not the rebound number, it's more about the rebound percentage. But we really want to be a strong rebounding team, and it's got to be on both ends, because we want to score more points and we want to get more shots. And so if you want to get more shots, we averaged 54 shots a game last year. If you want to get more shots, you got to get more defensive rebounds to get your break going, and you got to get more offensive rebounds for putbacks. So it really coincides with what we're preaching on a daily basis on where we want to go as a team. So there's no reason that we shouldn't get a lot better at rebounding.
Tom, what do you need to see from Remy? What does he bring to you?
I really want to get the team personally to be able to look out there, and they determine it, not me, but I want to look out and say, okay, we've got 7 starters. We've got 8 starters. You know, we've got some injury situations now. We've got Hunter coming back, and we're being conservative with him right now. But, I mean, there's a guy that's potentially in that boat. Derek is a guy that has started, but now he's going to be out for a while, obviously. Remy's one of those guys. I mean, if I had to look at it today, he's one of those 7 guys that I'd say he could start for this team. Now, obviously, you don't get to start 7. But it means if you got guys that are that good, that means they can finish, they can impact the game on both ends of the floor. You shouldn't miss a beat when they're in the game, and we need Remy to be that way. He got better throughout the game. He was not as aggressive as he needed to be. You know, he's playing in a box, which is one of my terms of like where you're very narrow and you're not spreading out and really bringing that spacing to the game and creating havoc for the man. And he got better at that. Remy doesn't have an idea of how good he is. He really doesn't. I love him to death, and we're coaching him every day to figure this out. He doesn't have an idea of how talented he is, how tough and strong he is. And you saw some signs of it with the rim. But we've got to get Remy to go from flashes to consistency, you know, day in and day out, because he's one of the most well-loved guys in that locker room. He's a great kid, great personality, incredibly hard-working student. And I don't think he's scratching the surface right now of how good he can be when he's out on the court. So that's what we need from him.
Was there ever a time with Maurice when he considered, that's it, I can't go anymore?
Oh, I'm sure. Absolutely. I'm sure there were many days in his mind. And certainly we had to look at it the same way. I mean, you don't want to put somebody in a situation that they can't achieve from. And he's done it. I mean, he's had a lot of help with people around him and pushing him. I'm telling you now, I mean, he's done it 3 times. I mean, that's some amazing mindset of a young guy, because it wasn't easy. There were a lot of hard days. There were some tough one-on-one sessions. You know, there was back when my language wasn't so good. There was a few of those days, pretty tough, to try to get him over the hump, and he did it. He did it, and he's not all the way there yet. I'm not trying to say that, but he got himself through it. You know, not once, not twice, but 3 times. I mean, the mental aspect of that, I can't even imagine. You know, what you're going through, and is this really worth it, and could it happen again, and how do I do this? And he's done it. I mean, that's he's quiet, but that is a tough young man mentally. There's no question.
Terry?
You look like you had a couple of sideline teaching moments with Peter coming
Sure.
off the court, Drew. I mean, he's obviously a work in progress.
He is. He's got to learn how to play. I mean, there's not one guy on the team that doesn't want to see him succeed. And what I need him to be is I need them to start being harder on him, because, again, he's pretty good. He needs to play. He needs that time. He needs to learn how to use his length, and he's not strong enough yet. I mean, there's no way around that. But he needs the chance to play so that he can grow into it, because he's an extremely willing learner. He's got a great touch. The game is moving a little fast. I mean, and he just got to. There's little things like cushion steps and things like that. He's got to learn to use his size, especially against people that maybe aren't his size. But he's going to get a lot better.
And your thoughts on Yogi and just how he performed?
I thought he was excellent. I thought Yogi brings an edge to the game. He did it in high school. He did it in the summer. This is the same kid that went to the McDonald's game and had 8 assists, no turnovers in a game where nobody's trying to walk out of there with 8 assists. You know, 8 shots every 2 minutes maybe, but not 8 assists in a game. And that's who he is. I mean, his defense, he's so well coached. I mean, just so well coached. And I think it's been for a long time. I think it starts with his dad. I think it's carried through the summers, and there's no question that Ed Schilling's one of the best coaches around. And to me, he's got that edge. I mean, he was on the ball. I mean, he played hard every possession, and he still wants to hit home runs. You know, he's going to be a doubles hitter too, but he's got to be a singles hitter for us. But he still has got to learn to value the ball more, and he will. But he brings it every day. He brings it every day, and he's improving rapidly.
Last question.
You mentioned Honor and Peter earlier. Do you have any better idea in terms of their claims, their eligibility?
Well,
situation?
what I can say about that is we go through a lot in the program, and there's situations that are always going to arise, and every one of them has got a process to it, and we're in the middle of that process. We just are, and that's the extent of it. And they're two great kids that are trying to get better every day, and it's not like it's anything that we're dealing with that just came up. It's been a process for some time, and that's really where we're at with it.
Do you have any idea when you expect that process to be finished, or what this
No,
point would
no.
be?
I wish I could answer that. I wish I could. I just don't. I mean, it's we're in the midst of it, and that's so it's like anything else. I mean, it's daily, and you don't get ahead of yourself. You just keep staying in the day with it, in the moment with it, and keep working the best way that you can, and see what's next.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you.